Clash Royale has seen some dominant performances so far from Ladder 1, but also something I wanted to touch base on with you, D-Man, is favoured troop, because from what I've seen so far, you know, the card that's always been used in, you know, 90% of the wars that we've seen has been the elite barbarians, just so OP in defense and attack. What about yourself?
I'm a bit of an old school. You don't see it very often these days, but the good old Hog Rider.
I knew you were going to say
It's just the Hog Rider. It's like everything what's not to like about it, right? It's just a card you love.
Well, we're going to have some familiar faces that you'll see sitting atop of the leaderboard in Clash Royale after week 1. However, one of the more dominant names from Ladder 1 is off to a rockier start, D-Man. Can you guess which one?
Yeah, Game Freak TV. You know, he didn't lose a game, did he? I don't think in Ladder 1. So definitely finding it a lot tougher. Once you're in that, you know, that effectively #1 position, you can just play a couple of games here and there to keep your elo high. Like Lucas is in a prime position right now. But yeah, Game Freak TV dropping games. And actually, I think he's played almost as many games in week 1 of Ladder 2 than he did in the entirety of Ladder 1.
I think he went 16-0, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, a really impressive performance so far. I mean, we have Inoraj as well, who's almost getting into that top 10, and we've got Destroyer, who, let's be honest, okay, honourable mention to Destroyer, who's sitting in 12th. Quality over quantity he's going this time round for Ladder 2, because before, I mean, he was pushing 150-something wars that he did, and now, I mean, he's sitting a bit more comfortable. He's in the teens right now, just getting the feelers out to see how impressive he can be. But, you know, we're going to jump into first versus second in our current standings on the leaderboard. We've got Lucas GSM going up against Shadow, and these wars are pretty tight, but also pretty impressive, to say the least. So, D-Man, what do you reckon?
Yeah, this is very much a game of Shadow being the aggressor, it seems, and Lucas on the defensive. Like, throughout this is generally what we'll see. I mean, you can immediately see Lucas just sort of sending out a small unit just to sort of bait it out effectively. And Shadow living up to his name, actually, using the 2 ghosties. So making sure he can keep out there. The hook is something you want to keep your eye on throughout this. Obviously, it works out so well for Lucas in defense. It seems to be his primary defensive setup as well. But already, you can see 500 damage going down to Lucas's tower. And that's kind of the story of the game, effectively. You know, we keep seeing Shadow using these big, aggressive units. The P.E.K.K.A, obviously, big elo to use in the opening sort of few minutes, because obviously you're risking effectively being caught out by maybe some sort of sneak attack on the left, because you've just thrown down so much elo to try and cover this out. Some elixir, I should say, some elo. I've got elo in my head from the ladder. But this is what I was talking about, pulling that P.E.K.K.A out. But look at the damage he's already got down. He's down to 932 banks.
Yeah, just one swing of the P.E.K.K.A sword, and there you go, down to 932, but also chipping away at each tower. As you can see, the Royal Ghost being used on the left side, who is invisible until he starts to attack you. So really impressive troop to use. But also, if you look on the right-hand side, she's being met by the Elite Barbarians right now, but the Bandit is really useful. We talk about the Miner being one of those troops that you can let loose and will just chip away because he'll dig underneath the map. Now, the Bandit is almost similar in the sense where she will dive forward and have a surge of energy and deal out a huge blow. So you're almost guaranteed, unless met by defensive troop, to get some damage dealt on one of the towers of your opponents. But yeah, like you said, using the P.E.K.K.A as the tank, and then using the Royal Ghost and the Bandit as backup. So, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. His tactic seems to be working so far, right, D-Man?
I mean, so he obviously threw down to go defensive with the P.E.K.K.A, and he didn't know it pulled away the right side attack, because that was just coming through unseen, but almost worked out for him. Bandit will get taken down. Quick fireball comes through there, but as you can see, barely any damage on Shadow right now. With still 40 seconds to go here. Sure, we're going to be hitting overtime, and it doesn't like it will go that way. But at the moment, it is still continually all Shadow. Shadow on the attack, and Lucas just being defensive.
Yes, if basically Shadow is looking for an opening to get the battle ram through, using the poison as well, great use of the you know, the spells. There we go. I was looking for the word spell. Perfect use of the spells, because we see that chipping away at that little amount of damage is so useful towards the end of game. So yeah, using the archer right there. And yeah, just things slow down a little bit before we get into overtime. But yes, the Bandit, as you saw right there, the Bandit and the Royal Ghost being a great combination to use. But the Fisherman in defense is so useful as well.
So finally we start to see the build-up from Lucas here. This is where he's trying to set his attack up. You can see the Fisherman working well. They've got a couple of barbs going in there, so he's finally going to get some damage down. We'll see, of course, what Shadow can do with this. Now we have, obviously, the double elixir running. It's going to work out well for him. Once again, the Fisherman just keeping that tower alive. And finally, the Royal Giant comes out from Lucas. This is the attack that he's really building towards. Gets a couple of those barbs out on the left side, which get pulled across. I don't think that was his plan to start with there. He wanted to get some damage sneakily down the left-hand side, but that P.E.K.K.A. is still causing so many problems.
That Battle Ram was absolutely well positioned because it dragged over the elite barbs and the P.E.K.K.A. could just get rid of them. And so now the P.E.K.K.A.
Sneak attack!
And now manages to push forward so he can get as much damage on the right side as he can. But watch this Battle Ram on the left. Is it going to get through? This met by the E-Wiz, but if he can get through, no, not quite. The barbs are going to basically get taken out by the Fisherman and the Electric Wizard. See, look, he's still trying to get this Battle Ram through. Eventually, I think you'll see he does get a shot off, but again, the Royal Giant on the right-hand side, which Lucas can finally use.
But now Lucas has got a problem. Which way does he defend? The 45 seconds remain. He's got to get some damage down. You can see 700 on the right-hand side turret.
It's a Battle Ram on the left.
He's got to be careful. I'm going to say on the left, he's dealing with the P.E.K.K.A. on the right, but on the left-hand side, you see the barb sneak through, and that will be the crown that they were looking for. The entirety of that game, Shadow was putting pressure on the right side turret of Lucas, so he was in this defensive mindset and almost just neglected that left side for a period there. The Fisherman was obviously hooking away, kept pulling the P.E.K.K.A. on and just didn't look to the left-hand side. But then, obviously, as is always the case in the ladder play, you want that rematch. You want to get yourself back in there, that revenge game.
Indeed, Shadow versus Lucas GSM once again. This was Wednesday's map as well, so we've got to see what they bring to the table. Again, Shadow with the Bandit, absolutely loves that card, and also bringing in the Mother Witch. Oh, met by a fireball. Ouch. Okay.
And the emotes coming out from Shadow this time around. Okay, so Shadow obviously, down on the south side this time, being in a different position. We'll see how it works out for him. Immediately, that good old Fisherman's Hook that we've seen from Lucas throughout the previous game. And there have been adjustments in the cards set up for this one. Obviously, the Goblin Hut is one of my favorites, actually, because you can get quite good value out of it quite often if those goblins just go unchecked effectively. But you can see just being dealt with pretty quickly here by the Fisherman.
Exactly. Those Goblin Huts are great for just chipping away damage or just being a nuisance and distracting attacking cards that are coming through into your side of the base. Now you see 3 of them come out, but met by a snowball, and we got the Flying Machine and the Mega Minion on the right-hand side. Flying Machine managed to get a shot off against Lucas, and this is what Shadow is trying to do. Just slowly chip away, get a shot off here and there on the tower, and just that gradual win, basically, which is what happened in the first time. But we got the Zappies down with the Mega Knight as well, and this is when the tanking troops start coming in. They start coming into play, dropped a poison down as well from Shadow to just ensure that he gets the opposing Mega Knight down and maybe even get a shot off at that right side tower.
Yeah, something to keep your eye out for Lucas is his use of spells. He's basically non-stop snowball, fireball. He's having to be defensive with them. There's the snowball coming through again, actually missing out there a little bit on the Zappies. Probably looking to get more on, but that Fisherman seems to be like the key part of his defense. It seems to work so well for him rather than pushing on the attack. But again, he still hasn't hit the turret really. He's lit the right-hand side a little bit, and finally the Fisherman will get in, gets a tiny bit of chip damage down, but that's about all it will be. Little Royal Hog sneaking through, does get a hit off, but still very close game between the two.
It really is. I feel like Lucas GSM is starting to clock onto Shadow's structure and the way that he attacks, and that's what the best players can do. They can adapt on the fly, using the Mega Knight essentially up against his own Mega Knight, so they can basically go up against each other head to head. But here we go, the Graveyard spell being dropped by Lucas GSM on that right side tower to try and chip away as much damage as possible, and the Fireball. Here we go. Now it's time for Lucas to go on the attack.
They're using the Fireball out in the attack there. Could have gone for the Zappies, but chose to try and go for the defensive units. But look at this, massive surge, perfect for a snowball, slams it down. Then, of course, the Mega Knight on top with the splash damage as he drops, wipes out that small attack. And it does seem that Shadow's small units are getting squished pretty easily right now. We'll probably wait for the snowball to come back up. Doesn't matter when the Mega Knight just squashes them all like that. The Goblin's being dealt with quickly. He's going to get smash damage down, and that's going to buy a little bit of time for these Goblins to get some spears off here. You can see they're starting to hit the turret on the right-hand side there. So that's kind of worked out for him. And again, answered by the snowball.
The snowball cycle is just so OP when it comes to those smaller troops. But yes, the Goblins did manage to get a fair amount of damage on that right side tower. So now Lucas is going to need to go on the offensive. So the flying machine being used by Shadow. Defensively against the Fisherman is very, very strong, the flying machine. It's great for both, you know, defense and attack. Shooting down on those ground troops as well. The Mega Knight just puts in so much damage. But again, they both have one. So let's time for spells. Graveyard spell dropped by Lucas GSM once more on Shadow's bottom tower, and it's just chipping away that damage, D-Man, every time. They're not looking for the OP, you know, let's fly in and absolutely decimate these towers. Let's just chip damage away this whole time.
And then look at the grouping there. The zappies from the back, everything just hit by a fireball. And immediately that damage, that attack, all built up, completely stopped dead. The flying machine, as you say, does keep getting that chip damage down. The Royal Hog's going to come on through and just get a little bit of damage. They're not just Hogs, actually. They're not Royal Hogs. Apologies, but the Goblins, I mean, it's the problem is that while they do get damage down, they are squishy, they group up like this, and it's answered with a snowball every single time. But a poison down here to try and help his Mega Knight out, try and build this attack up now. 30 seconds to go, time is running out, so he really wants to get a bit of damage down. The Zappies will stop the Mega Knight dead, so that won't get too much splash down. You can see it's getting stunned every time he tries to get the attack down. Graveyard on the backside, get some of those skeletons back down there, but there is a Goblin hut there, so that will get popped in a second, and that will be able to help out defense. Snowball comes in, tries to get the Goblins down, works out well, manages to get it down, but again, the damage still pushing through. The Zap is on the right-hand side, getting aggressive. Mega Knight goes down, the poison field hitting onto the right-hand side turret with 5 seconds to go, fireballing, do what he can to try and get some damage down, but overtime will run out, and in terms of tiebreakers, Locust just simply didn't have the damage down, and Shadow will take himself another crown. So while obviously we're seeing Lucas in the #1 position, Shadow taking 2 wins off him.
When the cards don't do you justice, just switch over to the spells and just make sure you chip away that damage. The Graveyard, the use of the poison as well, was just getting enough damage off in order to essentially secure the win for Shadow once again. But yes, like we've said, Lucas GSM still up top, but Shadow putting in 2 wins there up against him. So it's looking to be quite a spicy leaderboard as we progress through the ESL Mobile Open. But we've also got from ladder 2, Derplight is going to be going up against Destroyer. This is 4th versus 12th. Destroyer, you know, the man who's always on the ESL Mobile Open weekly recap because he's just so great to watch. But this is a carnage war, if I can say that, because we got ground versus air. Who can pull out the quickest attack and deal the most damage in the shortest space of time, D-Man?
Very, very, very different game from what we just saw here. This is going to be all-out aggression, base race, effectively, almost. It's very rare that we get to see these in the ladder. You can see the Lava Hound over on the left-hand side. Inferno Dragon's going to push on through, and there's not a great deal to defend against it. You see the flying machine go down, and then it's the poor old Archer Tower trying to do what he can, but meanwhile on the right side, the Elite Barb's going in. Not a lot to stop them either. The Zappy in there, but that's 1 crown gone. We've still got 2.5 minutes to go in this game, and he's starting to burn down the damage. So he gets the right-hand turret down, Destroyer does the 338, but you can see, look at the King Castle, it's so low already, down to 2,500 below that now. So great first attack from Derplight.
The amount of damage dealt from that Inferno Dragon and the Lava Hound just was so incredible and so difficult to defend against when you have a deck that is basically purely ground. So now Destroyer basically has to go all out offensive and try and take out both of these turrets as soon as he can using all out ground attacks. You've got the Skellies that he's dropped down on the right hand side from Derplight to try and defend against the Mega Knight and the Royal Hogs. But look at the damage the Royal Hogs can put in, circling around that tower. Almost got it down half that quickly. Now the Skellies are going to push forward, but shouldn't be too much difficulty for Destroyer to defend against. And now look at this. We've got a really low right side tower for Derplight, and the left side is half down. And we've almost got the Royal Tower in the middle, the King's Turret, almost down to half, D-Man.
Getting the Zappies out to be as defensive as they can. They get that left turret down. It's interesting he goes for it now. You can see, obviously, with 330 hit points on the right, puts him in a pretty commanding position right now. Destroy just to get a little damage, a little bit of push on that right-hand side. But he's got to respect this push once again. We saw how much damage it did in the first sort of set leg, effectively, the first minute, the first 30 seconds of this game, if you want. The Lava Hound going down, the Inferno Drake doing a lot of damage. You can see it's just getting chipped away at 750. The miner out the back there, getting the damage down. And this is going to surely be a triple crown. Will finally go down. Now he has to deal with the Lava Hound. In comes the Fireball, 100 hit points left. The Lava Hound doesn't care. He comes in, and it's a triple crown for Derplight. A very unusual game that we don't often get to see the replays of here. Generally, we get one crown most in overtime, but yeah, a triple crown, you love to see it.
242 damage left on Derplight's right side tower. You would think the Destroyer just needed to find some sort of spell or something just to drop on it and get that additional damage, and then he'd have taken the crown. But you know what? An incredible display from Derplight, and what an amazing speedy war. So don't forget, you can also sign up and join the ESL Mobile Open. Just simply put !sign up in the chat, follow the instructions, and you could be on the way to earning mega prize pools and all the glory. Now, the Brawl Stars ladder has had a slight slate wiped clean, so let's take a look after the break.
Thank you very much for watching the ESL Mobile Open recap. There's so much that happens throughout all 5 games, all across the ladders, and then moving into the play-ins. Feel free to hit that like and subscribe to keep up to date with all the action as and when it happens. See you next time.